Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to each of you for being with us today. General McKenzie, I want to go back to this Iran deal because the threat assessment, the annual threat assessment, noted that they anticipated that Iran would continue to threaten U.S. interests, U.S. individuals. I've read public reports of them threatening you. I know that this Iran deal would unlock billions of dollars for Iran, and I'm very concerned about what they would do with that money. They've already recently, in the recent past, the past decade, $16 billion is what we know of that they have transferred to these terrorist groups. So the IRGC, you mentioned, as Senator Rosen just talked about the attack this week, but Iran goes in to fill these power vacuums. We have seen, and we've talked a good bit about AFRICOM and Wagner and the way they're filling that. And General Kurilla, when he was with us for his confirmation hearing, touched on the risk that sanctions relief to Iran would make to us and to our interest because of this money transfer. And do you agree with General Kurilla as we're talking about a new JCPOA or a new Iran deal and unleashing all of this money to them? Are you concerned about that and how that would be used by these proxy groups and the way they would benefit from that?
Senator, our primary policy objective with Iran is to prevent them from having a nuclear weapon.
And we realize that and appreciate that.
And so I am not an expert on the negotiations that are currently going on. So I am not able to give you
Is your expectation they would be more lethal, that they would move forward with developing?
It is. I would say that there is a risk that they could use that money in ways that we would not want them to use that money. I can certainly say that is a risk. But I think that we would have to balance that if we got a good agreement that prevented them from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
Okay. All right. So I know that the JCPOA, under the terms for that, they could buy weapons from Russia and China as of October 2020, and they would be able to buy advanced weaponry and ballistic missiles from Russia next year. So what is your concern about their ability to purchase arms from Russia or China? Would they be able to purchase even more lethal weapons if they get that sanctions release? And what would that do with the capabilities for the Houthis or for any of these other terrorist organizations?
Senator, over the last 4 or 5 years, under a very significant sanctions regime, Iran has made remarkable advances in their ballistic missiles. I believe if open to bringing in advanced weapons from other states, such as you have named, it would increase the risk in the theater considerably.
Have we provided everything to the Israeli government that they've requested in order to respond to an Iranian nuclear buildup?
Senator, at my level, at the Chief of Defense level, we're in complete agreement about the way ahead and about what we're giving them. I can't talk about the whole of government, but I can talk about it in my level.
I was pleased to see the realignment of Israel from EUCOM to CENTCOM. I felt like that was the right move, and I was happy to see CENTCOM's combined naval exercise involving Israel, the UAE, Bahrain. That was last November. So how are you actively working with partner nations to integrate the IDF into the regional security architecture?
I think the low-hanging fruit is an integrated air and missile defense. All of these nations see the threat from Iran, the ballistic missile threat, the cruise missile threat, the unmanned aerial system threat, and they want to be able to defend themselves. And I think that's where we can make great headway involving Israel, but also other nations in the region. And I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that in the closed session.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Blackburn. Senator Peters.